Ever wonder if, trying too hard to shield someone from life's bumps can actually send them down a totally different road? Okay, let's get into that. This time, our deep dive takes us way back to the early years of Prince Siddhartha.
Man who'd become the Buddha, yeah.
Yeah.
We've been digging into these excerpts from a Modi Studios YouTube video.
Right, it's called Buddha Episode 3, Full LHD. Full Episode 1 to 55, Spiritual Awakening. Quite a title.
It is. And what really jumps out right from the get-go is this intense worry about Siddhartha's future. And the, pretty extreme things his father, King Suddhodana, did because of it.
Yeah, it makes you think, doesn't it? About parental expectations, that weight, and how they try to shape things, or maybe prevent things.
Exactly. So our mission here really is to unpack the why behind all this. What was driving the king? What were the ripples, the consequences, short-term and long?
We want to get to the heart of it for you. What can we learn from this story?
Well, it kicks off with something huge, a prophecy from a sage named Asit. And Asit basically foresaw that Siddhartha, he wouldn't be a king in the traditional sense. He'd become a sannyasi.
A sannyasi. So like a spiritual seeker, renouncing the world.
Precisely. Giving up worldly life, possessions, power, all of it.
And you can guess King Suddhodana wasn't thrilled about that.
Not even slightly. His dream was for Siddhartha to be a Chakravartin.
Just
the massive universal ruler, power across huge territories, a dominant world figure.
So the absolute polar opposite of a sannyasi.
Exactly. Complete opposite. So boom, right away, you've got this fundamental conflict, the father's vision versus this predicted destiny.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much control do we actually have over where life takes us?
And these fears, they pop up super early. The video highlights how Siddhartha was, strangely calm as a baby.
Compared to others, like Devadatta.
Yeah, Devadatta was apparently a more, typical noisy baby. But Siddhartha had this stillness. It worried them, made them think he was already different.
It's those little details, isn't it? Even his mother, Mahadevi Maya, is shown trying constantly to soothe this, unnaturally calm child.
Right. And then there's this bit with Mangala and the king talking about lighting lamps, almost like a ritual.
Trying to ward off the prophecy.
Seems like it. You really feel the king's anxiety building and his determination. He is not letting his son become a sannyasi. No way.
So how does he try to stop it? What are the first steps?
Well, the initial push is all about warrior culture. Let's immerse him in it.
Makes sense for a future king.
Totally. Lots of talk about weapons training, horse riding, physical strength, all the things a powerful ruler, a warrior would need.
But there's that shadow, the prophecy. He's not just building a king, he's actively fighting something else.
Exactly. He's trying to stop Siddhartha from developing certain qualities, like compassion.
Karuna, right, that deep empathy.
Yes. And detachment, which they call Maya here, stepping back from worldly things.
Because those were seen as the pathway to renunciation.
Precisely. So it wasn't just do this royal stuff.
Yeah.
It was also don't feel these dangerous feelings. Don't see suffering.
He even tells people, right, keep them away from anything unpleasant. Sickness, old age, ascetics.
Explicit instructions.
Yeah.
Shield him completely. Build a world of just comfort, strength, and, ignorance of the hard stuff.
But that prophecy, it clearly digs deep. Because the king's actions, they really ramp up.
Oh, absolutely. He goes way beyond just influencing Siddhartha's education. He tries to reshape the entire reality of the city.
This is where the big plan comes in the Shakya assembly.
Yeah, this really remarkable, kind of shocking proposal. He wants to relocate people.
Relocate who?
All the sick, the elderly, the poor people in Kapilavastu, move them out.
Move them where?
To a new place they'd build called Arojidam, basically a healthy dwelling. A new settlement away from the main city.
Wow. What was his justification for that?
His argument to the assembly was, look, if we remove this side of suffering, we protect the youth, especially Siddhartha. They won't be distracted by, unpleasantness.
So they can focus on warcraft, the kingdom's progress.
That was the pitch. A society where, at least for the elite, suffering is invisible.
It's a heck of a plan, trying to build strength by just hiding vulnerability. Does that even work?
Well, it raises that exact question for you, doesn't it? But the king was forceful. He insisted.
And the assembly?
After some debate, apparently they agreed unanimously, which says a lot about the king's power, or maybe just the depth of his fear.
But the sources don't just show the official view, right? What about the ordinary people?
No, and that's crucial. We hear from them too. Confusion, anger, real fear about being forced out.
Do they buy the king's reasoning?
Not really. There are snippets suggesting people saw it as selfish, that it wasn't about the kingdom's youth, it was all about the king wanting to control his son's destiny.
Protecting his own ambition, basically, under the guise of protecting Siddhartha.
That's the accusation, yeah. And this is where the story really brings in the ethical questions. Through characters like Prajapati,
Siddhartha's aunt.
yes, and Mangala too, they voice serious concerns. Like, is this right? What are the consequences?
It feels very real. Power making these grand decisions, and ordinary people just have to live with it, or in this case, leave with it.
Totally. And you wonder, how often does that happen? Actions meant to be good that don't feel good at all to the people affected.
Prajapati really confronts the king, doesn't she?
Oh, yeah. It's depicted as a very emotional plea. She questions his justice. Why make innocent people suffer because of a prophecy about one boy?
And she predicts something, too.
A chilling prediction. The son you're trying so hard to keep, he's going to leave you anyway.
What could someone in the assembly, maybe someone who disagreed silently, have argued? Even if they were overruled.
That's a great point. They could have raised the cruelty of it, uprooting families, destroying communities, the potential for unrest.
Or maybe even question if hiding reality actually makes someone a better ruler.
Exactly. Does ignorance prepare you for leadership? Probably not.
How does the king react to Prajapati's warning?
Dismissive. He pulls the parent card, basically. I know what's best for my son. He's absolutely convinced his actions, however harsh, are ultimately for Siddhartha's benefit.
Do you think maybe he genuinely believed he was acting out of love, just in a really flawed way?
It's possible, isn't it? Parental love can be complex and sometimes misguided. The story definitely shows that tension, the intention versus the impact.
So the plan goes ahead. What does that look like? The actual removal?
It's not pretty. The video excerpts show people being forced out, urged, maybe even coerced, to pack their things and leave.
Just leave their homes.
Yeah. And mood is described as despair, distress. These aren't happy volunteers.
There's mention of curses, too, against the king.
Yes, which really underlines the bitterness, the resentment this whole thing caused.
And Siddhartha himself, the person this is all supposedly for, does he remain untouched?
That's the tragic irony. No. Despite the walls, the luxury, we're told he cries in his sleep. He gets a fever.
So the suffering outside, it's reaching him anyway, on some level.
It suggests that, yeah. Like, you can't actually build a bubble strong enough to keep out basic human reality. Life, suffering, finds a way in.
Does the king realize this? Or does he just double down?
He doubles down.
Yeah.
Even harder. He orders the cremation grounds removed.
The cremation grounds? Why?
Think about it. No smoke rising, no visible evidence of death. He's trying to literally erase mortality from his son's world.
That's extreme.
It really is. And then he appoints this guy, Angali, and his whole family. Their only job.
Keep Siddhartha healthy and happy.
Exactly. Live in the palace, 247 watch.
Yeah.
Make sure Siddhartha encounters zero sickness, zero distress, zero anything upsetting.
So the palace becomes this place of, what, forced happiness?
Pretty much, a kind of artificial cheerfulness. But the source hints that underneath there's this tension, this sadness. This whole elaborate setup feels fragile, unsustainable.
Okay, so let's pull back a bit. What are the big takeaways from all this?
Well, number one is King Suddhodana's overwhelming fear. Fear of that prophecy and the incredible, ethically dubious things he did to fight it.
And the consequences, right, the social chaos, the suffering caused by trying to control destiny.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And maybe the biggest thing is just the sheer difficulty, maybe impossibility, of shielding someone completely from life, from suffering, from death, from reality.
And for you, listening, wanting to grasp things quickly, understanding this background, this intense effort to prevent Siddhartha's path, it makes his eventual journey even more powerful, doesn't it?
It really does. You see what he was supposedly saved from, and yet...
Despite all the king's power, all the walls, all the relocations, the seeds were there. It feels almost inevitable.
Which leads to that final thought for you to chew on. Considering everything the king did, all that effort, could he ever have actually stopped Siddhartha's awakening?
Was it truly possible, or does this story tell us something deeper about, I don't know, control versus destiny, about human nature itself?
And think about those unintended consequences. Did the king's desperate attempts to hold on to his son actually, ironically, push him away, push him towards the very path he feared?
A fascinating paradox, something to definitely think about long after this deep dive is over.